Hi, I'm Mark. This is Mark's Tech Vlogs on YouTube, and today I'm going to be reviewing the Simple Slim Series Smart Lock. Now, if you've been on this channel for a little while, you'll know that back in February I reviewed the Nuki Smart Lock after purchasing it for my front door. And during that review I mentioned that there weren't many locks out there for multi-point doors. That's the type of door we've got in the UK a lot, where you have to lift that handle to lock it and it brings across all of those multi-point bolts. Since making that video, there have begun to be a few more locks on the market that support multi-point doors. The Simple Slim series is one of those, and this is from a company called Simple, who are based in London. Now, I'm always honest with you guys in my videos. I want to start this video by saying that when I came across the Simple Smart Lock, I actually sent them an email and said, would you want to send me one to review? And so Simple have very kindly sent me one and the gateway completely free to review for you guys. However, there is absolutely no agreement that I'm going to say nice things about it. It's just that they've sent it to me, I'm using it, and I'll tell you what I think. I'm also going to be doing a comparison video on this channel in a few weeks, comparing the Simple Slim series with the Nuki. If you want to be first to see that video, make sure you subscribe to my channel and hit that bell so you get notifications when I upload new videos. So let's start off the review for the Simple Slim series and talk about price. So this smart lock retails at about £220, but there are quite regularly offers on that bring the price down. That means you're probably going to pay somewhere between £160 and £200 for it. If you're happy to wait around for a better price, then this certainly makes it more affordable than things like the Nuki. If you want out-of-home access or voice control with Amazon or Google voice assistants, then you're also going to need the optional £50 gateway. I'm going to be talking about that gateway throughout this video, but when I talk about functionality that requires that gateway, I will mention that it requires that. In the box with the Simple Slim series, you get the smart lock itself, you get a variety of different size screws and spindles to work with different door thicknesses, you get the waterproof gaskets, an extension cable, 2 NFC keyring tags, and a phone NFC sticker. If you want to, you can also buy extra tags as well. So let's talk about the design. So this lock comes in a choice of black, silver, and silver. And really this lock has two parts. There's a part for the inside of your door and a part for the outside of your door, because it does replace both handles. Both of these have nice rounded edges and a really sturdy looking handle that feels really well made. The outside part has a touchable keypad, a fingerprint sensor, and an area for swiping those NFC cards. The inside, however, is much simpler, and it just has a compartment for putting the batteries in. This slides open nice and easily, although I believe the silver version unscrews. Personally, I do prefer the black version because I think it looks much more modern. The base of the outside part also has a micro USB port and an emergency key slot. These provide you with two ways of getting back into your house if the battery was to run out. You could either use the emergency key that comes with it if you decide you want to carry that around all the time, or you can use a power bank and a micro USB-C cable to add enough juice to get into your house. You do of course get notifications when the battery is running low anyway, so this is probably something that won't ever happen. All in all, I think the design is great and it looks super modern, and as I said, I do think the black looks better. The really important thing is that they do feel sturdy and really well made. So let's talk about the specification. So firstly, this lock has an impressive amount of ways you can actually open your door. You can use the fingerprint sensor on the device, the keypad on the device, you can use the NFC tags, and then you can use the Apple and Android apps, and this includes an app for the Apple Watch. You can also open it with NFC for some Android phones as well. If you have that optional hub, then you can also open it with Google and Amazon voice assistants and remote access with your phone as well for unlocking it when you're not at home. I'll talk more about these in detail later. It is also worth saying that if you do use it with a voice assistant, it will ask you for a security code. This stops someone being able to open your letterbox and shout, "Alexa, open the front door." It's also worth saying at this point that it is not Matter or HomeKit compatible. When it comes to compatibility, this lock is designed to work with around 90% of multi-lock UK doors. If you're not sure if your lock is going to be compatible, then you can contact Simple via WhatsApp and send pictures of your lock before purchasing. If you do have an offset spindle, so basically one where a handle has two different spindles coming out depending on the side, then this lock is not compatible. If, however, like me, you just have one spindle going through the middle of your door, this lock is more than likely to be compatible. In terms of door thickness, it's compatible with doors between 35 and 65mm thick. If you've got a thicker door, you will need longer screws, stubs and spindles, but it will still work with them as long as you can get hold of those parts. It works at temperatures between -10 and 55 degrees Celsius, which is going to cover you for most situations. The built-in 360-degree fingerprint sensor can work with up to 200 fingerprints. You can also have up to 150 passcodes, 200 fobs, 1 remote and unlimited access via smartphones. The lock itself also has a built-in speaker for feedback, but also a tamper-proof alarm that can go off as well. This speaker isn't massively loud, but it is loud enough to put off someone who's trying to tamper with your lock. And then in terms of batteries and battery life, it takes 4 AA batteries and also has a low battery alarm. Of course, you can also check the battery status in the app. In terms of how long the batteries last, Simple don't actually commit. And this is probably going to depend largely on how often you use the door and where you've got the handle and types of ways you open it as well. Of course, it's also going to depend on the type and quality of the batteries that you put in the device. After using this for a couple of weeks so far, it's still at 100%, and so my best guess is that you're probably going to get about 6 to 8 months out of it. That is, however, a guess. The main thing to note with this lock is that there is no information on the Simple website or on their Amazon listing regarding any security ratings of this lock. If you look at similar smart locks, this isn't actually uncommon. However, of course, if you look at companies like Nuki and Yale and Locked, you will find that they do talk about encryption and security of their products. Now, the Simple Smart Lock uses an app called TT Lock rather than one created by themselves. Now, TT Lock is not dissimilar from something like Tua, which you have for a lot of smart home devices. And it's basically a protocol people can choose to sign up to and use that for their own product. This means a new company coming to the market doesn't have to create a whole new ecosystem. They can concentrate on the hardware and have the software created elsewhere. So this is Editor Mark here with an update on the security credentials of the Simple Smart Lock, because I reached out to Simple and said did they have any information, and they got back to me a little bit after I'd filmed the video. So the TT Lock has Bluetooth 5 built in. This is for the gateway and the lock itself. And then in terms of encryption, it uses WPA2 encryption with AES 128-bit encryption. That means it is pretty secure, and that is the same for the actual lock and the gateway, so both of them use that level of encryption. In terms of the actual handle, there are no certifications for the handle itself, although this is something Simple are looking into. However, at the time of recording, there are no official certifications linked to the handle and its security. So let's talk about installing it. Now, Simple say installation takes between 45 and 90 minutes, and they're pretty much about right with this in terms of the higher end. If you've seen my installation video already, you'll know that it took me somewhere between an hour and a quarter and an hour and a half to get this fitted. This included working around my existing multi-point mechanism and trying to work out where to put the cable and try and put some new holes in my door as well. This process was a little bit fiddly and certainly took a bit of planning. If you want to watch that setup video, I have linked it below. The absolute key thing when setting up this lock is to make sure that you twist the spindle holder to face the correct way. This is because when you're testing to check that it can operate your multi-point, you need to face it in the opposite direction to where it needs to go when you finally install it properly. This, of course, is in the instructions that come with it and also in my installation video. The instructions that come with the lock when you buy it are reasonably easy to follow. It is, however, worth saying that this lock is nowhere near as easy to install as something like the Ultian Nuki, which literally takes 15 minutes. I'd say, having done it, it's certainly something for people who are more intermediate DIYers. However, if you've got enough patience and you plan it well, you can do it. Simple do offer an installation service for £150 in some areas. Of course, this is an extra cost. The final part of installation is to get the app set up, and this is an absolute breeze and really easy to do. If you're going to add the bridge as well and you've purchased one of those, then the setup for that is super easy as well. And if you do want to check the status of your lock when you're away from home or use voice assistants, then you're certainly going to want to pick up the bridge. And of course, at a point of setup, this is when you're going to want to set up your initial fobs, your passcodes, your fingerprints, and add any extra admins as well. The process for each of these is nice and simple, and the app is really easy to use. So this moves on to talking about what it's like to use and how well it actually works. So once you've installed this smart lock, you simply open it from the outside using your chosen method. So this could be the passcode or your fingerprint or one of those NFC fobs. The great thing about having the code or fingerprint is that you can just go out with nothing in your pockets at all and still be able to get in. If you want to open it via the Apple Watch app, then this is also super easy. Personally, having used this for a couple of weeks, I actually think the fingerprint sensor is the best way of opening it, because this fingerprint sensor is really responsive and it's so easy just to put your thumb on the lock and open it. When it unlocks, it gives you some feedback and tells you it has opened, and then it also locks within a few seconds as well. You can change this delay and how quickly it locks again in the app itself. One of the really clever things about this lock is that it basically separates the handle from your actual spindle. This means as soon as you've gone in and you close the door, no one from outside can get back in again. It is however recommended for security that you still lift that handle to engage the multi-point because that adds extra protection. This means it can be opened at any time from the inside without having to reach for a key or press a button. You simply pull the handle down and off you go. This is great for easily getting out, especially if there was to be an emergency. In using this for a couple of weeks and trying out different methods, I'd say that whichever method you're using to unlock it, they all work reasonably well. The only thing I'd say about the keypad is that because it is a touchpad rather than physical buttons, it does take a little bit of getting used to. And really, I'd say that that passcode feature is a little bit fiddly. This is, however, a really good time in the review to talk about passcodes because there are lots of different ways you might want to use them. And in the app, you can set up a whole variety of different types of passcode. So you can create permanent ones that work all the time. You can create timed ones that last a certain time period. This might be ideal for cat sitters or Airbnbs. You can use one-time access codes that can only be used once and must be used within 6 hours. You can also create reoccurring ones. For example, if you've got someone who visits your house every day between 10 and 12, then you can limit their code to work only at those times. If you do have that optional gateway, then it does give you a login feature in the app. This means you can see remotely who's had access to your door. You also get notifications when it's unlocked, and it even identifies which method and how it was unlocked. For example, when I use my thumb, it tells me my fingerprint 1 has been used. All these passcode functionalities are great if you need to give someone access to your house, and with the gateway you can even create them and send them remotely. You can of course also use the gateway and the app to unlock your door remotely just by pressing a button in the app. The passcodes in the app need to be between 4 and 9 numbers in length, and of course the longer the passcode the more secure it is. You can also change these passcodes in the app as well as viewing them. All in all, I think the amount of ways you can unlock the simple smart lock is a real strength of it. And actually these ways work every single time. And it's for that reason I think for most people, what you're going to do is you're going to probably buy the gateway if you want that login and remote unlocking feature, rather than the voice assistant stuff, because I don't think you'll use the voice assistant. So all in all, what is the verdict on the simple Slim Series smart lock? So this lock is reasonably affordable, it's got a really good design that looks nice, and it has so many different ways of opening it. And this is great because you know whether you've got a cat sitter or an elderly relative or someone who's really tech savvy, they're going to have a way they can open that. And that's especially helpful where these little fobs come in because you can just wave them in front of the door and it tells you it's unlocked. After using this for a couple of weeks, I'd say the fingerprint sensor is my preferred method of getting in because it is just so easy to use and so responsive. Of course, all of that means there is no geolocation features, but actually because of all those ways of unlocking it and because it kind of automatically locks, you don't actually need a geolocation feature with this lock. There are, however, a couple of downsides you should note. Firstly, the installation process is not as simple as other DIY install smart locks I've come across. From what I've seen, I don't think it's as complicated as the Yale Nexus, however it's certainly something for someone who's slightly more confident with DIY. Of course you can do it yourself just like I did, but it does require a little bit of patience and a bit of planning. The second downside is to do with the security credentials, and I'd really like to see more information from Simple in the future about the security credentials of this lock. Not just the encryption, but also the strengths of the handle itself. And of course for this review I've been able to dig into that a little bit because of the TT lock app and the information already out there on that app. However, I think this is something that Simple should be shouting about a bit more. Especially as when you're buying something that's going to go on the external entry of your house, you want to know it's going to be safe and secure. All in all, however, I think this is a really well made, good looking smart lock that actually works with multi-point doors. It offers a really well thought out selection of ways you can get in, and those ways just work. I also like that the outside handle is essentially detached from the mechanism of your door because it means it is locked automatically. Of course you do need to lift the handle for extra security and to engage those multi-point locks, but it is locked as soon as the door closes. If you've got any questions, do stick them below and I'll answer those questions for you guys. If you do want to pick one up, I have put links to the different colours on Amazon below, and I've also put a link to the gateway as well and the spare fobs. There's also a link below to my installation video, and if you subscribe I'm going to be doing a comparison video in a few weeks where I talk about the difference between this and the Nuki. Please consider subscribing to my channel, give this video a like, and I'll see you guys again soon.